Kieran, it was a day of hope and despair here. Hope because there are now delegations from Israel and from Hamas in Doha. They are talking both to the Qataris who are mediating. These are proximity talks. And we know that what the shape of this potential deal is. It would be for a potential 6-week ceasefire, for about 40 of the hostages to come out initially, the most vulnerable ones, and for Palestinian prisoners to be exchanged, and for more aid to get in. All of that looks hopeful, but also despair, because this escalation on the northern border is very serious, very dangerous for people on either side of that border. And also because it's a month since the International Court of Justice required Israel to improve the humanitarian situation, the supply of humanitarian goods into Gaza. Well, Israel has submitted a report to the court. We don't know what it said, but what we do know is that the humanitarian situation is worse than ever, that very few trucks are getting through, and an increasing number of people in Gaza are hungry, scared, and sick. The Israel Defense Force says it's killed 30 gunmen in Zaytun in Gaza City over the past few days. Even as a potential deal for a temporary ceasefire to release Israeli hostages was taking shape, Hamas is under military and diplomatic pressure to agree. In Ramallah today, the Palestinian Authority government stepped down to make way for a technocratic administration for both Gaza and the West Bank, as the Americans have proposed.
This decision is based on political, security and economic developments related to the offensive against our people in Gaza and the unprecedented escalation in the West Bank and Jerusalem.
No one on the streets of Ramallah today seemed preoccupied by politics. Palestinians haven't had the chance to vote since 2006, and they won't now. But who will choose the technocrats?
We have a long history of what we call consensus, of discussing things, of reaching a middle ground. This will be a technocratic government. There will be no power sharing. No politician will be part of it, so there won't be a cake to divide, and it will be a government mandated to do the mammoth task of Gaza reconstruction. If this government is not an outcome of dialogue, of factional buy-in, it is not going to work.
President Mahmoud Abbas, who is thoroughly unpopular amongst Palestinians, was visiting King Abdullah in Jordan yesterday. If he doesn't get Hamas buy-in, many Palestinians will reject the new government. If he does, Israel, and probably the Americans, will boycott it. Another potential problem, Lebanon. Today, Hezbollah downed an Israeli drone. Israel then attacked a Hezbollah stronghold in Baalbek in the Bekaa Valley, far deeper into Lebanon than it has in this war so far. Hezbollah responded by firing 60 Katyusha rockets towards Israel. No ceasefire is likely on Israel's volatile northern front. At least 2 Hezbollah fighters, including a senior commander, were killed in Israel's strikes today.
Its aggression on Baalbek or any other areas will not remain without response, which the resistance will choose in the appropriate way. This is not words for the media. This is a commitment from the head of this resistance and from the fighters.
Gazans are just desperate for a ceasefire. Very little aid has reached Gaza City, partly because fighting and looting make it too dangerous for truck drivers. Despair has overwhelmed him, because he can't find bread or rice or anything to feed his children. If there's any hope for the people in Gaza, it's that Hamas will agree a ceasefire before Ramadan in 2 weeks' time, and Israel will be persuaded to suspend its proposed operation in Rafah. But until then, many feel that they and their children are just waiting for a fast death from rockets or bombs, or for a slow one from starvation.
Well, I'm joined now by Avi Hyman in Jerusalem, a spokesperson for the Israeli government. Thank you for joining us. Do you accept now that children are starving to death in Gaza?
Hi, Christian. Thank you very much for having me on. This started on October 7th when Hamas plowed through our borders, beheading,
Sorry, can you just
raping.
address my question? I mean, we're used to the talking points, but I'm just asking you, do you accept that children are now starving?
I accept that Hamas was beheading Israeli children, was firing on Israeli children.
Are you going to ignore every question I ask you,
No,
or just this one?
absolutely not. Any casualties, both on the Israeli side and on the Hamas and on the Gaza side, fall solely on Hamas, who started this war. We didn't want this war. We didn't choose this war, but we will win this war. And we are endeavoring to do our utmost to limit civilian casualties, to get civilians out of harm's way while going after Hamas. We must destroy Hamas, and we will do our utmost to avoid.
I'm not even asking you about civilian casualties now. I'm asking you, just listen to the question. I'm asking you about starvation. That is because it's very, very difficult to get aid into lots of Gaza now. And although there is some aid coming in, it's by no means enough. Do you accept that that is the situation? And children are now, as doctors are saying, starving to death.
We're bringing in aid from multiple places, multiple crossings. We're bringing aid in now by air as well. We're doing our utmost, more than any other country, to my knowledge, has done. There's no other country that's been in a situation like this where a terrorist organization is fighting from within the civilian population and wants maximum civilian casualties. They are using their people as human shields. And we are endeavoring, we're doing our absolute utmost to kill the terrorists, to eliminate the terrorists, and to get aid through and to avoid civilian casualties.
Right, how close are we to a ceasefire deal?
That the ball is firmly in Hamas's court. We have put our cards on the table. Hamas, as my prime minister said today, is not even in the same orbit as us. So when they come down to earth with their demands and understand that, you know, they need to come into the playing field if they want a deal, then we can strike a deal. We've done it before. There's three objectives of this war, as you know: to eliminate Hamas, to bring home the hostages, and to ensure that Gaza is no longer a threat to Israel. We will do that. If Hamas wants to put down their arms tomorrow and surrender, that's also an option.
So if the ceasefire takes place and you get all the hostages back, does the war resume on the basis that you are still trying to eliminate Hamas, even though nobody believes that's possible?
Well, I'm not sure that nobody believes that possible. Obviously, we believe that's possible. That's why we're doing it. And we have taken out 18 out of 24 battalions, Hamas battalions. There are 4 remaining in Rafah that need to be dealt with. There's others in Khan Yunis which we're currently fighting. And we believe we're very close. It's a matter of weeks, not months, until we destroy Hamas.
We had Ehud Olmert on the programme a couple of days ago, who of course led a big Israeli offensive into Lebanon. He said the victory has happened. The war, a significant victory over Hamas has happened. The war needs to end. Why is he wrong?
Oh, I don't think that is a opinion held by the vast majority of Israelis. That is not something that I've even heard on the streets of Israel. The Israeli people are united in a way that they have potentially never been, in the fact that we need to fully destroy Hamas. We need to bring security back to the south of Israel as soon as possible. Now, if we were to stop the war now, that would just empower Hamas. Hamas would rearm, would prepare for what they say they want to do, which is to repeat October 7th again and again and again. This is a genocidal terror organization that wants to destroy all of Israel, that wants to kill all Jews in Israel and around the world. That's in their charter. That's not my words.
Just on another front, there is another case at the International Court in The Hague looking at the impact of Israel's occupation of Palestinian territories. Does Israel intend to abide by whatever that court says, or does it just ignore it and think it's wrong?
I'll leave that. There's time on that. What I'll say is Israel's point, as far as Israeli communities in Judea and Samaria, has been consistent. It's been consistent that Israeli communities in Judea and Samaria are legal.
When you say you leave that, did you not know the answer, or is that still to be decided?
No, I don't have a specific answer to that. I can tell you that according to with the other case, we have submitted our report to the court. I don't have an answer for you on that, but I'll say that our position on Israeli communities in Judea and Samaria has been consistent. Jews come from Judea. You know, that hasn't changed. If you dig under Judea and Samaria, you will find Israeli artifacts. If you dig under Gaza, as we have been, you will find terror tunnels. Jews come from Judea.
Avi Hyman, thank you very much indeed.